Hey guys, I appreciate you joining us today. I'm Caleb Gussner with Duckett Lad, sitting here with the Jared Duckett, all things tax today. Jared, how are you doing?
Oh, good, man. Appreciate that intro.
Hey, absolutely, absolutely. So today, we're going to be talking about proactivity in tax, really our tax momentum, how we view a tax service should be run. When I'm talking to prospective clients, the thing I'm thinking about, right, is the 3 Ps of tax, right? Projection, planning, preparation. Right, all 3 components that are super crucial that unfortunately not every CPA firm out there is great. There's some that are great on, but we have our own take on it. So why don't you opine on, our perspective on the 3 Ps of what a good tax CPA does for you?
Yeah, and we hit on the 3 Ps all the time. And the reason is, and nothing against good CPA firms out there. There's a lot of good CPA firms, and I will never talk bad about another CPA because we are CPAs, right? But most people out there are getting one of the 3 Ps, and that's preparation. And if you're not getting that P, you better figure that out pretty darn quick. You're going to be behind bars, right? You got to get your tax returns prepared, and you got to pay your taxes. But the other 2 Ps, the projection and planning, that's what we've built our whole service around, right? Proactivity, which is like a 4th P, if you will, but you've got to be projecting your taxes, and you've got to be figuring out how you can minimize those taxes to a degree. And that's why we've really set up our services the way we have in regard to the tax side. And, Caleb, we talk about analogies all the time, and I'll just talk about the one I use in regard to these services is football, right? We talk about football all the time. No, I'd never played football in my life, but I love watching it on TV, and it's all about a good football coach, right? You think about a really good football coach, they're going into the game, they're going into the year, let's go with this analogy, right? Knowing what plays they're going to run. I think, I might be wrong, I might be making this up, but I think usually like a good NFL coach, they probably know what the first 10 plays of the year they're going to run the game, right? That offensive coordinator knows, hey, we're going to run these first 10 plays. That's what you need to know in regard to taxes. When I say plays, what are the strategies you're going to be doing throughout the year? You need to know that going into the year, but then also roughly how much you're going to owe in tax. And you're probably like, well, Duckett, how in the world am I going to know how much in tax? Well, look at what you did last year. You kind of know roughly what the size of your practice is, what your NOI is, what your projected liability is going to be. Go into those first 2 quarters of the year with that in mind, your plays and then what that's going to look like. And here's the key. You get to halftime, right? And you get to halftime, and all the good football coaches, I don't know how many times I've seen like an SEC game. Maybe it's Kirby Smart on Georgia or whoever. They played terrible going into the first 2 quarters, right? They go into halftime. What changes? They come out of halftime. They're a completely different team. Why? I think it probably had to do with something what the coach said, right? The coach looked at film really quick. What did you do the first 2 quarters? That's what you have to do with your taxes. You have to meet June or July, whatever, somewhere around halftime. How has your year been so far? How are your first 2 quarters? Are we on track? Are we playing good? Do we have a bad first 2 quarters? What do we need to change? That's that halftime meeting, right? And you're then readjusting your projections, doing a little more planning, hence the 2 Ps, a little bit more than preparing. And then you're coming out of the tunnel, right, into the 3rd quarter, and it's a completely different team, right? And then you're running, you're going 3rd and 4th quarter, and then I like your analogy. You used this morning. I love it. I'm going to steal it. 2-minute warning. You get pretty close to the end of the game. Well, where are you at now? Well, November, December, that's that 2-minute warning meeting you need to be having with your CPA. Are you on track? Are you behind? Do you need to do a little Hail Mary here at the end? Whatever. Because you want to get to where you can basically kneel that ball down at the end of the game like, okay, I'm good. I used this with a prospective client yesterday. Cheesy analogy, but if you're, before you open Christmas presents, you need to know roughly what your tax liability is going to be, right? Do you need to take some of those Christmas presents back because you didn't plan? Right? So that's how our services are done. So many people out there, we hear it all the time, Caleb. You hear it on sales calls like, man, I got that text or that call from my CPA on April 14th. Hey, man, first off, we haven't talked in a while. Second of all, hey, you need to get your checkbook because you need to write a big check to the IRS. And guess what? It's due tomorrow. Well, first off, it would take me forever to find out where my checkbook is. Second of all, and then you got to write money out of your bank. Explain that to your wife and how that's going to work. That's not going to be fun, right? So that's why you need to have all the P's in place, because if you don't, Nothing usually ever good happens, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I love the analogy of the proactivity, right?
Yeah.
We understand that circumstances change. Different variables pop up throughout the year. Maybe we go buy a second location. Maybe we have a massive build out that we're doing that, hey, some of these strategies we implemented, we don't have to be as aggressive on, right? We're actually going in a different direction than where we were. Or on the flip side, hey, man, like we are having a killer year, which is great, right? Cash flow is awesome. But with tax flow comes tax liability, right? We gotta pay that in. And so the proactivity in the points throughout the game or throughout the year in the analogy, right, of halftime, 2-minute warning are perfect. And what I love to tell prospective clients when I'm talking to them is the best part about that is just like a football team, right? On Monday, so, right, we play football here outside of Monday Night Football. We're just going to act like that doesn't happen. On Monday, what are those teams doing? They're going to do a quick review of Sunday, right? That's where the third P comes in of preparation. Preparation meaning your taxes are getting prepared. That is the quick review of how the strategy played out, right?
Yeah.
Here's what happened. Here's where we shook out. Here's what you owe, or here's what you're being refunded. That's your quick review. That's 10% of the time on Monday. The rest of the time is, hey, we got a game next week, right? We got to start thinking through what are we going to do different next week. Yeah. And so we are already focused on that next calendar year. Yeah, we prepare, right, in arrears. We're preparing this year for 25. Next April will be for 26, but we're in 2027. Our focus needs to be 2027 by the time we hit April 15. We don't have time to go back and, tax strategy, tax plan does not work in arrears like that. We got to be focused on the here and now, this calendar year. So love how you put that, Jared.
I will say one thing real fast. Like we always say, surprises are usually not good in tax. That's usually the case, right? There's usually not a good surprise, but I like to try to get one good surprise. And it's all about how services and the 3 Ps work, meaning throughout the year, if you're doing all those things, we're going to encourage you to put money aside or pay in, right? Put aside and then pay in for your tax liability so you don't get caught with a surprise. But what if something happens throughout the year? Let's just say second half. An example may be the real estate that you lease is now up for sale and you're able to buy that. Then you buy that piece of real estate and do some really good tax strategies with that to offset your dental income. Guess what that did? Lowered your tax liability. Guess what the surprise is? You've got money already paid in or in an account that now you don't need for taxes. What better surprise than to have excess money? Whatever you want to do with that, that's you. Maybe go buy your wife another Christmas present to give her, right? But that's the best surprise you can have. And the only way you can have that is to do the 3 Ps and slide the money aside on a monthly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, guys, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, want to chat with us, we do this day in and day out. This is our Super Bowl. Our Super Bowl happens all year, right? We have a tax season, obviously, with prep, but our tax service is designed to be proactive, a full calendar year cycle. So if you have any questions, reach out to us. We love chatting with you.